I want to discuss South Korea official name, the Republic of Korea. South Korea was our choice since its leadership claims to be in charge of all of Korea and refused to acknowledge North Korea as a superior nation. South Korea population expanded to 51.78 million people by 2020. Coming in second, South Korea is also noted for having a third largest population in the world and the fourth largest economy in Asia. In South Korea, there are certain cities with a population of over 10 million, including the capital city of Seoul. Consequently, South Korea has constantly ranked among the top tourist destinations, sources making people come to witness the lovely view of the Namsan Twin Tower on a regular basis. There is also a love lodge there. Next, visitors can visit the Boshan village. Next, visitors can visit the Bochan Hanok village, which is the said to has a living museum and its situation is Seoul too. Busan, the second largest city in the nation, is home to numerous resorts and bridges. It was a maritime nation that served as the setting for all major cities. As a result, South Korea's GDP has increased to between 1.8 and $2 trillion for trade supplier, and in 2021, the country had hired chip supplier worth about US 29.48 billion. The nation inflation rate has now significantly increased. On to the mass of employed people, the graph that has been given indicates that between 2019 and 2020, the employment rate significantly decreased. The cause of the official measurement of employment in the Republic of Korea may be responsible for the fall in the employment rate over the last 4 basic years. However, there has been an increase of 0.9%.
Let's move on to the inflation issues in macroeconomics. A consistent and ongoing rise in the overall or average price of goods and services in economy is referred as inflation. When the cost of living rises and lower purchasing power, inflation is implied. In a complex process, there are four steps to measure inflation using the Consumer Price Index, which includes choosing a base year so that everything is compatible and choosing the CPI for food and services, calculating the monthly prices for the chosen food, and providing a web page of significance for each food and service category. Currently, there are several different types of inflation. The first type is push inflation, which is when natural resources or disaster are cited as the cause. For instance, South Korean inflation increased in May due to the high cost of food and energy since the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the country's economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Impact can be seen in different ways, such as from a positive or a negative angle. Redistribution of income and wealth is a consequence under current inflation. In the society, there are two different types of people, losers and genius. For instance, the loser is the individual who receives pay and salary, and the genius is the merchant. I will now explain why the winner is the one who receives pay and salary, while the genius is the merchant. By raising the price of their product, business people will make more money, but because wages and salaries take longer to catch up with rising prices for goods and services, those who earn them will see a decline in real worth of their income.
Let's discuss unemployment, which is the second macroeconomic issue. When people of working age are able and eager to work but are unable to find employment, they are said to be unemployed. There are two ways to calculate the percentage of the person with jobs. First, the labor force share of the population of working age is divided to determine the degree of participation rate. In addition, the number of jobless is divided by the total labor force to determine the unemployment rate. According to our research, South Korea used the unemployment rate as gauge. Due to the COVID-19 epidemic, South Korea experienced psychological unemployment, also known as demand deficient unemployment, which occurred as a result of a lack of demand during the economic downturn, which a 3.68% jobless rate. There is a slum gap that forced business to cut out a large number of workers to reduce costs. The COVID-19 pandemic that hit the whole world is an example of a business downturn that happened in South Korea. Throughout the downturn in the trade cycle, aggregate demand fell and a multiplier effect caused the country income to fall for them. As consumption decreased, the production also decreased. The company are closed and result in many workers are laid off so that they do not have money to buy what they need and further low demand occur. A high rate of unemployment has negative effect on the following long-term economic growth. The impact of unemployment based on an individual is they experience a decrease in income as a direct effect as a job provides. People wish a salary and bring jobless result in the individual having less available value. Without other sources of income that normally depends on their saving or good money to meet their plastic demands such as food and shelter. Next, unemployment seems to have an impact on the society. Although one unemployed person has a little impact on society, high unemployment rates in some cases will result in higher deficit rates and result in the worse society. Last but not least, due to unemployed people spending less money result in a reduction in the economy's contribution in terms of goods and services that are sold and produced. Increased unemployment may result in a shortage of items available for sale in the economy. Therefore, this might result in a decrease in economy revealing Savor Ratio 24.
There are three measures that can control inflation. First of all, demand flight inflation can be controlled by contractionary fiscal policy. The government can reduce the government expenditure and increase taxes, which is known as budget surplus. The government can cut salary and postpone the development project in order to decrease the government expenditure, while to increase taxes can be implemented by a regressive tax structure or increase the indirect taxes on service and goods. Recently, the government of South Korea has raised the tax rate from 42 to 45%. By that, the aggregate demand in price level will decrease as well as inflation. Next, inflation can be controlled by contractionary monetary policy. The Bank of Korea (BOK) can raise the best lending rate or bank rate. In other words, the loan will be revised again since the BOK has the authority to force the bank rate to increase in 2021. The news state that the BOK will raise the bank rate from 0.58 to 0.75%. This will make the aggregate will decrease and the inflation rate will drop. Lastly, push inflation can be controlled by direct control measure. The government should directly control the price level of goods, especially necessary goods, since South Korea was near the price level of flight inflation. The core inflation increased by 3.4%, which is the highest inflation that happened in South Korea. The government should either fix low price or ceiling price in order to keep the general price level low. Rationing should be applied if the price control method fails. The consumer will be given the coupon in order to buy goods or service, but it is inconvenient since it will lead to the corruption and black market.
South Korea can focus on expansionary fiscal policy in order to reduce the unemployment rate in their country. The expansionary fiscal policy until increasing government expenditure or decreasing taxation. Government expenditure can be a valuable economic policy tool for government. An increase in government expenditure or directly increase demand for goods and services, which can help increase output and employment. The research shows that South Korean government expenditure as a percentage of GDP is 23.38 in 2020. It is an average percentage when it is compared to other countries. South Korea should focus more on increasing its government expenditure by creating more development projects, which will increase aggregate demand via the multiplier effect. Production will increase, hence reducing the cyclical unemployment in South Korea. Government expenditure is classified into three categories, which is government consumption, transfer payment, and interest payment. The purchase of goods and services by the government is known as the government consumption, road and infrastructure repairs, national defense, school, healthcare, and government worker salaries are some example. Transfer payments are government payment to individual. Payments are made without the exchange of goods and services.
For benefit, veteran and civil service pension, foreign aid, and social assistance payment. The interest paid to holders of government bonds such as saving bonds and treasury bill is referred to as interest payment. Other than increasing government expenditure, South Korea should decrease its taxes. South Korean tax burden percentage by GDP is 26% and it is more than 20. It is relatively highly compared to other countries. Therefore, South Korea really needs to focus on decreasing its taxes. A reduction in taxes such as excise tax, service tax, sales tax, income tax, or corporate tax will increase consumption and induce investment, thereby increasing aggregate demand and production and reducing cyclical unemployment. Contributing to a retirement account with an employer-sponsored plan or an IRA, individual retirement account, is an effective way to reduce your taxable income. Both held spending account and a flexible spending account help to reduce taxable income during the year in which contribute are met.
Moreover, South Korea need to take care of its monetary policy expansionary. Monetary policy works by repeatedly increasing the money supply or lowering short-term interest rate. It is enacted by central bank through open market operation reserve requirement and setting interest rate. One of the ways to increase the money supply is to open market operation when the central bank buys government security, short-term bonds or treasury bills in the open market from the public to increase the money supply. As a result, consumption and investment requires increasing aggregate demand and output while decreasing cyclical unemployment then lowering the interest rate. The central bank will direct commercial bank to lower deposit interest rate in order to encourage the public to spend. This will increase aggregate demand and production and decrease cyclical unemployment in South Korea.